Starting with the name of Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful. My name is Dr. Bilal, and I'm assistant in Forensic Medicine Department. Today we are going to discuss a new chapter of forensic medicine, that is personal identity. What is personal identity? How one can define that? What are different factors through which one can identify a person? This is a very important topic because most of the time we came across such type of conditions where we have to identify a person. Do remember, identification is the basic point of any medical legal investigation, right? Whenever we have to perform any medical legal investigation, we have to identify the person by at least two identification points. At least two identification points, right? This is very important. So let's start with this chapter, personal identity. The learning objective of our chapter will be what is personal identity? How can one define that? What are different type of identity or identifications? And a very important term, corpus delicti. What is corpus delicti? What are the different parameter of identifications? Parameter mean through which sources we can find out a person, like by the height, age, sex, race, or different other. So these are the parameters. The word parameter mean through which we can identify a person. And after that, we'll be discussing a very important topic, that is racial indexes. Regarding the race, there are some indexes through which we can find out the race of a person. So we'll be discussing that at the end. Today's chapter is going to be very interesting one. Let's start with the definition. What do you mean by identification or identity? That is the determination of individuality. Individuality, a person, when you individually determine a person on the basis of certain physical characters, we can find that identification. All right. So how can one define that? Identify a person on the basis of certain physical characters or determination of an individuality of a person is called identification. Let's go for the type of identification. There are two types. One is complete and absolute identification. Like absolute fixation and individuality of a person, right? We know complete data about that person. So we say that this is complete identification. What is the partial identification? Partial identification are some facts like races, sex, age, or stature through which one can know about the identification of a person. For example, we know about the race of the person, but we don't know about the sex of the person, we don't know about the age, and we do know about the stature. So we have the partial data, and when these partial data combine together, when we add them, all, then it will be eventually converted to the complete or absolute identification. This is very important. So what is complete identification? The identity of person which is completely known, and partial identification which is not completely known. So its bits will be touched like race, sex, age, and they will eventually give us a complete identification. So there are two types, complete and partial. Why is the identification is very important? So identification is very important in the living as well as in the dead. In the living, we go for the criminal cases like a person who has been assault or murder and rape cases, interchange of the babies in newborn hospital, impersonations, and running away of the soldiers and performing some criminal activities. They run away, so we have to find out their identity, they are the same person or not. In the cases of the civil cases, there will be the marriage. It's very important to identify a person, marriage and passport and license, inheritance, insurance claim, missing person, and in the disputed sex. Disputed sex is supposed to be the most uh, difficult case scenario where you cannot 100% identify a person, either that's a male or a female, and they are claiming their rights for a specific gender. So one should know about the disputed sex. So identity is important in civil cases as well. This question is very important, right? So in the living, we can go for the criminal cases and we can go for the civil cases. And in the dead, that will be like a fire, bomb blast, explode, or an accident like in a train accident or aircraft investigation accidents. All of these conditions will lead to the highly mutilation and highly destruction of these bodies. So one should identify them, who are they, where they belong from. Similarly, in the road traffic accidents or in the railway accidents, in the case of very severe decomposition or mutilated body, or only a skeleton is remain. So we need to identify the person by different parameters and different categories. Now the next topic is what are different methods. The first one was what are different types. The types are two, absolute and incomplete. What are the different methods? There are three different methods from which we can personally identify a person. All right. First one is third party method. Second one is subjective method. And third one is objective method. Third party method in which the person is not involved by himself and the information is given by somebody other than the person himself. All right, like the cousins, uncles, brothers, sisters, mother, they are giving information about that person. They will be the third party. What will be the subjective? Subjective specifically on the subject, how the subject is, right? He is tall, he is fat, he is white, or might be about their body fluids, about everything that are they are having at the moment. So they will be the subjective regarding to the person itself. Objectives will be these methods from which we can identify the person by the specific objects he is wearing, like specific glasses, rings, specific type of clothes. There are different people who are wearing a very specific type of brands and clothes. So it is also very important point for the identification. Let's discuss that in detail. The third party method is the most common method in which two persons are there and asking about different questions to know about the identity of a person. All right, there are two principal parties, an examiner and examinee. They might be the relatives or friends, and they might tell about the name, CNIC number, and examinee. Okay, and there might be some relationship with the examinee. This is some important points in which there's two persons are involved other than the person himself who has been examined. The person who has wanted to identify is not involved here. The question has been asked by the relatives or by the other than himself by through the friends. We know about the identity and the third party like this. We go for the subjective. I discussed this in detail. Subjective means the morphological data, the subject by itself. It might be the physical characters or the belonging of the examinee. All right. This further divided into the anatomical data, physiological data, pathological data or parameters, and genetic data. Now, objectives are those things which is being used by that person. So it might be the biological and non-biological. All right. Non-biological would be the materials like clothes, wristwatch, purse, leaves, grass, bottles, anything that is non-biological and considered to be an object will be the objective method for identification. And biologically will be the body fluids, tissue, hair, nail, saliva, semen, CSF, urine, and vomit. So we have three different methods of identification. First is a third party method. Second one is the subjective method by subject itself, its anatomy, its physiology, its genetics. All of these are in the subjective and in the objective. Objective would be their biological and non-biological features. Okay, that's related to the object of the person. These are three methods for identification. Now the next topic is corpus delicti. Corpus delicti is a very important topic. We need to learn the basic concept behind that. What is the corpus delicti? Like whenever crime occurs, there must be something to show that the crime has been occurred. The essence of the crime. We call that the essence of the crime, the eventual results that has been caused after the crime, and discussing them is the corpus delicti. For example, if somebody claimed that a murder has been occurred, then we need some evidences. We need the dead body, we need the some bullets, or we need some splashes of blood, or any other evidence to prove that the crime has actually occurred. This is the real concept behind the corpus delicti. All right. So, what is the corpus delicti? It must be proven that the crime has actually occurred before a person is convicted to committing the crime. So, this is the essence of the crime. If there a crime is occurred, we need the body, all right, of the crime and offense. We call that corpus delicti. For example, if there's an homicide case, so we need a positive identification of the dead body. Is there any dead body present or not? Or any criminal act has been occurred or not, right? Other than this, the victim, the bullet, the clothing, showing marks, the weapon, the photograph, or the fatal injuries. All of these are the corpus delicti. It shows that some crime has been occurred. After the corpus delicti has been proved positive, then the case will be proceed inside the court. If it has not been suggested positive, that the corpus delicti is not suggested positive, it means the crime that has been accused have no body, have no essence. All right, so it cannot be produced for the criminal investigations. This is what the corpus delicti is. Now, how can one identify a person? There are different parameters of identification. We discussed that this is might come in exam. What are the different parameters of identification? So you must know through which ways we can identify a person. All right. We discussed the parameters. We discussed the different types of identification, and we discussed the methods of identification. So do remember, all of them are separate. So parameters of identification in living and dead, which are can occur both at one time, that is the race and religion, sex, age, teeth, journal development and stature, and anthropometric measurements, fingerprints, lip prints, footprints, external all features like scar, tattoos, hair, personal effects like clothes, pocket contents, and only in the living, handwriting, speech, voice gait, manner, habit, memory, and education. Right? There are different parameters through which we can identify a person that is living or dead. The top most important are the race and religion, sex, age, teeth, fingerprints, lip prints, and footprints. Other than this, tattoo marking and hair identification are also very important. Now, in this slide, it's been discussed that sex, age, and stature are the primary parameter for identification, which cannot be altered even after the death. So, if we focus on them, we can find out the identification of person. Do remember, identification is not always absolute. It's like a small sticks, different identification points like race, religion, sex, gender, stature, and when all of them combine together, they give us idea about the identification of a person. So we need all of them to identify a person. Now, the first identification point today that we are going to discuss is the race. So there are different races according to the uh, uh, black dictionaries. There is are five different categories has been divided, but we'll be discussing three here and three topmost. These are the Caucasians, Mongoloids, and Negroids. Do remember there will be the European mostly, Mongoloids will be the Asian mostly, and Negroids will be the African mostly. All right. If you take a glimpse idea about them, that will be much more easy for you understand that. So there are three different races: Caucasides, Mongoloids, and Negroids. Right, let me discuss about the skin of these three races. So skin is mostly in the European, there's the white, Mongoloids have the yellows, and Negroid has the black skin. But skin is not very important features because it keep on changing during the lifetime as well as after the lifetime in the postmortem lividity, right? So this is not a very authentic point. Talk about the eyes. So European most have the blue eyes and black in the other races, and the mixed races most have the brown one. Let's talk about the race of the hair identification. So from the hair, we know that the Caucasides have light colored hair, reddish, brownish. The European have mostly golden color, and they are curly, wavy, and their cross section. When we look at the cross sections of these hair, we will find out the oval shape cross sections. The Mongoloids have the dark color, they are straight, and this cross section is mostly round. But we talk about the Negroids or the blacks, the Africans, and their dark hair color, and they are woolly, having the woolly pattern. And when we check out the cross section, they are the kidney shaped. So these are different cross sections of the hair that have been discussed previously in the previous slide. These are the oval cross section, the circular cross section, and the kidney shaped cross section for the Caucasians, Mongoloids, and that of the Negroids. So if any in the cross sections of hair appear and that is in the oval, we can have a glimpse idea that these are the Caucasides. If they are the circle, we can have a glimpse idea of these are the Mongoloids. And if they are oval, they might be the Negroids. Other than this, there are different racial identification for the skull. We'll be discussing the most important them of one. The skull of the caucasoids are round, mongoloids are square, and negroids are narrow. Other than this, prognotism is mostly pronounced inside the Africans and Ethiopians. All right, what is prognotism? The mandibular and axillary bones become bigger and they protrude outside of the face. So we call that prognotism. All right, these are mostly common inside the negroids. If you talk about the foreheads, then the caucasoids have raised, the mongoloids have inclines, and negroids have small and compressed uh, foreheads. Similarly, the face is mostly small in the Europeans, large and flattened in the Mongoloids, and malar bone and jaw projections that has been occurred due to the prognotism. All right, they are mostly in the negroids. The orbit mostly come in the MCQs. This is the triangular in Europeans, rounded in Mongoloids, and square in negroids. Similarly, the cups are absent both in mongoloids and negroids, but they are mostly present inside the Europeans. So there are different skeletal or different features from which we can find out the difference of various races. Now we are going to discuss different indexes through which we can find out the race of a person. The first most important is the cephalic index. If we discuss the cephalic index, it is the actual maximum width to the maximum breadth of the skull. When we take a ratio of them, we have a specific index, and then we multiply that with 100. We know about the cephalic index. All right. We take the maximum anterior posterior length and maximum width of the skull, and we divide them and then multiply by 100. We will have specific numbers, and these numbers are very static for the races identification. For example, according to this cephalic index, skull has been classified into the three different types. Right? If the cephalic index that is very small, so we can call that dolichocephalic. If the cephalic index is in between, we call that mesocephalic. And cephalic index is very larger, we call that brachycephalic. Right? So the brachycephalic are short-headed, and their cephalic index will be maximum. Mesocephalic are medium-headed, and their cephalic index will be medium as well. And dolichocephalic are the one with the very big heads, and their uh, cephalic index will be lesser. All right. So the dolichocephalic do learn this paradox. They are longer, but their cephalic index is smaller. Mesocephalic, where the medium head size, the cephalic index are normal, and brachycephalic, where the heads are short but the cephalic index is very large. For example, Mongoloids, Europeans, and Aryans negroids. So, according to this cephalic index, the skull has been divided into the dolichocephalic, bigger head, brachycephalic, smaller head, and mesocephalic, medium head. Dolichocephalic is specifically for the caucasoids, and their cephalic index is starting from 70 to 75. Mesocephalics are the caucasoids as well as the mongoloids, and Chinese and Japanese specifically have the medium head, and brachycephalics are the Mongoloids, the Africans, and their cephalic index is in between 80 to 85. Other than this, it might be the hyperbrachycephalic, like in the Japanese, where the cephalic index is 85 to 90. So 1, 2, and 3 are topmost important. All right. Do remember their cephalic index number as well. Now there are some other indexes through which we can find out the race of a person through the long bones. These are the brachial index, crural index, intermembral index, and humerofemoral index. The brachial index is actually the length of the radius to the length of the humor multiplied by 100. So the brachial part is the upper part. If you remember the brachial plexus, we guys discussed that in the first year MBBS. So the brachial part is the part of the hand that might be the ratio between the length of the radius and the length of the humerus multiplied by 100. The crural will be the one where the length of the tibia and length of the humerus having the ratio. Humerofemoral index will be one having the length of the humerus in the ratio to the length of the femur. Humerofemoral. So first we take the length of the humor and then we take the length of the femur and take the ratio of them, multiply by 100. We will have specific indices numbers. And the last one is the intermembranal index. Here we will combine all of them. We will combine the brachial index. We will combine the crural index. So that will be the length of the humor plus radius, not their ratio. Again with them, femur and tibia. By adding them and we take overall issue of all of them, ratio of all of them, we will find the intermembranal index. So what are different indices for the long bones? These are the brachial index. Brachial index, we take the ratio of the femur to the we take the ratio of the radius to the humor. The crural index, we take the radius of the femur to the tibia, and intermembranal index, where we take the ratio of the humor to the femur. And the last one is the humerofemoral index, where we combine both the brachial and crural indices. And other than this, the top most important is the skull indices, that was cephalic index. So related to the skull, the cephalic index is right there. Related to the limbs or long bones, these are the brachial index, racial index, intermembranal index, and humerofemoral index. To remember, these are the indexes of the races from which we can identify the race of the person. This is the last slide. If there are any questions, please do ask me. Thank you so much.